Good morning. I'm Denise Dryden. I do a weekly broadcast now out of Whitefish, Montana. And for those of you who've been following me, you know that I have a passion about working with kids who are creative and different, working with family systems, and understanding those energetic relationships. So what I wanted to do was explain, as a coach who's worked with this age group, I want to focus today on the Zoomers and the Alphas. And I want to sort of give you a little bit of resources first, which is since 2015, I've been putting videos out. So they're on my website at denisestrydencoaching.com. Tons of videos on different, generations, different energies like indigos and crystals and millennials and Gen Xers and what we can do with those. What I also do is I lay over these energies, these esoteric energies and these generations and show you where they blend. So I'm going to do that today with the Alphas and the Zoomers, okay? First and foremost is that there's also these kinds of presentations are on my website as well, because I've been interviewed several times on iTunes. So whether it's Tara with A Mother's Intuition or it is Casey with Joyful Courage, we have 2 or 3 interviews each talking about these specific embedded energies in the generations. I've also do a lot of summits. So I've been on the Shift Network a couple times. I've spoken with IONS groups. I've done the Sensitivity Summit. Those recordings are on my website as well. So feel free to go back and sort of, if you're curious about what these point of references I use are, they're there. So know that since 2015, I've been bringing in the energy of these children and showing you what their skills and tools are. So now we're looking at the Zoomers. And they were born, I'm going to start with the Zoomers first, okay? So they were born in 1997, late 90s to like 2010, 2012. Each reference point has a very drop dead line, like this is where they start, this is where they end. And sometimes they move around based on resources. So they're in that phase, right? So they're up to 24 years old now. This has been the primary focus of most of my therapeutic work with family systems, has been through these 24 and unders and moving them forward through their family systems, because they've rocked everything. They are super confident inside. They're creative. They're highly sensitive and intuitive. They grew up completely technologically skilled. They've had a computer since they were born. They know how to play games. They know how to write apps. They know how to do a lot of things that we as parents have had to learn how to do, right? They're entrepreneurial. Like I said, they're independent, and they are change makers. What I've noticed over and over again working with the Zoomers is that they have an idea of what they're going to do. And, parents may have an idea like, we should start looking at colleges in their junior year. And they're like, stop. Or I want to take a gap year. I'm not interested in going to college. Yes, you are. You need an education. You need to have a job. Your grandparents have a fund for this. I mean, we've put money aside. We're going to help you get financing. And the kids are like, stop. This isn't what I want to do. So they're breaking traditions over and over and over again. So they are independent and they are change makers. And they can be very frustrating to a family that's been dreaming of having sort of the kid that's going to plod along and do the things that we did when we were growing up, right? The Zoomers aren't going to do that. Not in any way, shape, or form. The Alphas, who are 2010 to 2012 forward, right? So we're right in the middle of that right now. These are the children of late stage Generation Xers, mostly the children of the millennials. They're all coming into the earth now in rapid form, especially after this lockdown, right? There's lots of kids coming. Let's see. They are comfortable with artificial intelligence. They love the way that systems work with them, okay? They're the 21st century innovators. They are creating this century from the ground up. And I also want to say that they're the grand experiment, because the children coming in this alpha phase are so different and so unique. And I'm going to go through this a little bit more so that we understand what I'm actually talking about. But they are the grand experiment of this new energy, of this Aquarian energy that we're moving in towards, right? So again, we have 2 generations. We have the Zoomers and the Alphas. And what I want to do is then I'll do it over here. We have the Zoomers and we have the Alphas. And then what I want to do is I want to lay over, and I have this amazing yellow diamond. And so this is the diamond energy. And I wear this because I represent the advocacy, the compassion, and the growth of the diamond children. So these diamond children have rays, different kinds of rays, different kinds of purposes, but they are radiant and they are high frequency energy. And they are embedded within both of these generations, similar to the way through the baby boomers and the Gen Xers, we had the indigo and crystal energies embedded. So in this is the diamond. So the Zoomers and the early Alphas are the last Earth. Well, I should say the Zoomers, the very early Alphas, the ones that are 2009, 2015, 14, 13, 12, 11, 20. These are 2010s. I'm sorry, I didn't do my math very well in my head. They are the last Earth culture. So they're the last ones born who hold the vibration of Earth, but also are raised in the air frequency. And so they're very rooted in the physical, understanding how the physical works, at all times working towards frequencies and changing energetic systems. So they're masters of change. They're adaptive. They're flexible. And their intuition and their sensitivities are sort of letting us know at all times what's working in physical form and what is not. So they're also going to be part of this big dismantling because they're going to break apart the things that no longer work. So they're resistant to the old programming. They're resistant to the old conditioning. They will stop. They will refuse. They will leave. And we've seen a tremendous amount of teen and young adult suicides. And we can do an entire show on this on a Sunday if that's what you're interested in. Just, write me a little remark and ask me if we really want to go through the suicide rate at this point. Because the way that I look at it is that if they can't work within the system, if the system doesn't support or see them or hear them or understand them, they just leave. Like, I'm going to go someplace else where it's not as hard. It isn't such a push upward. So their job is to access the vibrational shifts of our world and then to integrate and normalize it, right? So, their systems are like, there's no future planning. There's no time. There's no family roles. Like, I'm the mom, you're the dad, these are the kids. They blend everything. So it's sort of like, you're one of my parents, you're one of my parents. You want me to go to church with you? I don't do religion. That's you. If you like that, you go ahead and do that, right? They're going to change religion, medicine, education. They have no interest in following these old archaic systems that have been in place since the 1900s, since the 30s, since the 40s, since post-World War II. They're just like, done. I'm not doing that. So the Zoomers are here to change and normalize all of that. This makes sense. The Alphas, and especially within the Alphas, there is this group that started in 2015 that are highly experimental, highly vibratory. They have a frequency that we haven't seen before, because Alphas are absolutely all, especially going from 2010 more towards 2015 and now into 2021. Alphas are full air frequency. And if you think of air, you can watch trees move when the wind blows. You know that there is Wi-Fi and cell service, but you can't see it. It's always moving and interacting with us, right? So we have a really new kind of kid. They're very balanced in their internal masculine and feminine energy. And they don't have an attachment to how it looks on the outside, because if you think about it, they're a being of light. So when they look at one person or another, what they see is just radiant light. And you're like, yeah, isn't that woman, attractive, or isn't that man tall? And they're like, I see a being of light. They don't differentiate the same way. Okay? So they're resilient. to trauma. They're resilient to generational pain. They're resilient to the parent dramas, because that's not part of their energy system, is to take that on. So they kind of go like, yeah, whatever's going on with you, go ahead. That's your story. That's not going to be mine. I'm not taking that on for you. So, on a spiritual level, they're coming in without any karma. So they're not here to fix things. They're here to grow a future, right? So these alphas who are 2015 and forward are embedded versions of diamonds that have rays that we have not, as I've said earlier, seen before. They work on a different time zone. They don't see a clock. They move from things that feel good to things that feel good. And when we come in and we go, you have soccer practice, we have to be at school at 9, you have soccer practice at 3, we have, they're just going, they just look at you like, what are you doing? This isn't working on any level for me. They can't do time the same way. So time shifts for them with intention, with attention, and with meaning. What is it that if I'm in it, why would you want me to leave this so that I could go do some silly practice that you want me to do, not something I want to do, right? Super interesting. And commitment, like, I tried it, I don't like it, I'm not going to do it. And you're like, when you start something, you finish it. It doesn't work like that anymore. So they hold a very high energy frequency with profound skills of telepathy and love and compassion. They see everything, they notice everything, they watch constantly, they're observant, they're curious. They have an exuberance for being in a human body and loving life. They're beautiful. Their eyes are open and looking. They are attractive children. They are skilled and intelligent. And they are vague. They're not going to commit to much. They are exchangeable. They try this on, then they try that on. They are non-gender fluid, which, like we talked about with that being of light, they don't identify the same way that we do. So they're learning how to be human, and they're learning how to care about humans. So, human behaviors, especially our human behaviors that are programmed, they're like, well, look what she does, like her mom calls and then my mom goes into this spin and then she starts yelling at the house and there's this whole system and, whatever it is, whatever happens between those two, especially the grandma, I'm not liking this. And so they watch the whole system, and you're just a sitting duck out in the middle of all of it. You're entirely energetically exposed when you're around alpha children. It's phenomenal. So the world is to be shaped for them. They are our future. So the more we understand this, the more we know how to go forward. Okay? So I'm going to leave you with about 5 tips. And I want to start with the very little like tap, tap, tap on the shoulder, which was, and then from the 1990s to 2020, it was like, do your work. Do your work. Are you doing your work? Did you let it go? Did you release this? Did you figure it out? And as I've said in other videos, it's like, yeah, okay, I'm doing it. I don't know why I don't know what you mean by that. But now that we have these alpha kids on the planet, it's like, if you haven't done your work, they're going to keep pointing out your work all the time to you. Makes sense? So tip number 1, know that you will have your world shaken, broken apart, that whatever you hold as normal, as traditional, as I've always done it this way, or I've always wanted to have my own house so I could do this, so I could do that, it's like, it's irrelevant. It isn't going to work because family roles, the way that the systems that we set up they're just going to need to, they're going to need to be more flexible. They're going to need to move, right? Number 2, learn to know yourself so well, so deeply, that when you feel a point of tension or a point of something that comes up between you and your child, that you can explore where you're holding on to something that's your story. And an example I would use is that I have 2 parents and they have this beautiful creative son. And this beautiful creative son wants to play music. And what happens is that there's this place where I want him to have college education first and then play music. And he wants to play music and not go to college. And so what we have is, where are you rigid? Where did your belief systems come from? Where are you attached? Where are you inflexible? Where are you forcing a pattern or condition that you grew up with? And where are you bullying or trying to power up or over because you need this to happen because it matters to you, where you're reacting to old traumas. So when we say, did you do your work? It's like, crap, I still have work to do. Number 3, I heard this from a 3.5-year-old who said, conditioning hurts. When you try to impose your belief system that 4th grade education and learning how to write cursive and do this and that is exactly what you need to do. It's like putting this beautiful light into a mold that it doesn't fit into and then forcing it, and it physically hurts them. So conditioning does not work. Number 4, they do not respond well to repercussions. I've had this said over and over, especially starting at the 24s and getting more extreme as it goes all the way down to these little toddlers. You know, you're like, if you do this, then anything where there's a towing the line, you know, anything where you need them to stop. Like, if you do that again, I'm going to put you in your room. I'm going to take your TV away from you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. They look at you and go, do it. I don't care. And they drop it and they walk away. Remember, they're not attached. They're going to drop and walk away from anything. So imagine disciplining a butterfly or a hummingbird. It's like, you can't drink out of this. And they're like, okay, boom. And they just go to another source, right? So this is the most important part of what we're looking at, is that you're disciplining light. You're disciplining a butterfly, and you have to sort of follow it where it goes instead of try to control it so that you feel good. And number 5, the last one, getting ready for new ideas, new lifestyles, new relationships, new locations, new ways of educating. You know, what this pandemic has done is it's taught us to release some of our work structure, some of our education structure, some of our television using this, some of our eating out, all of these pieces that are the things that our children are asking us to dislodge from already. So get ready for new discoveries, because you have the skills, you have the tools, you have the intelligences that you need to go where these kids are going to take us. They wouldn't be here if we weren't ready for them. But this requires us to dislodge from our security and go where they go. So this is the kind of coaching that I do one-on-one with a single parent, couples, family systems, grandparents, you name it. So if this is something you're interested in following up on more on, you can always find me on DeniseDrydenCoaching.com. Meanwhile, have a great weekend. Have a great next week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Take care. Bye-bye.